everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Music Weekly. It's April 7th, 2023, and this is the show where I give you guys the top 5 Prog news headlines, talk about the top 5 Prog singles that have come out this past week, and then give you updates for the channel and what you can expect moving forward. So today's Prog headlines, I wanted to start with one of the most notable pieces of news that I've seen, which is actually rather unfortunate news. It's actually the passing of Gentle Giant's Ray Shulman, who passed away at age 73. Of course, Ray Shulman was such an incredible musician and member of Gentle Giant, who are one of my all-time favorite prog bands. Probably my dad's all-time favorite band, one of the first prog bands he ever shared with me. So this news hit close to home, the first main Gentle Giant member to pass, unfortunately. It came out of nowhere a little bit for me. It was a bit of a shock. He was the bassist and composer of the band and also played all kinds of instruments. All the members of Gentle Giant were very eclectic and able to play lots of different instruments and had so much talent, and he was just such a important member to the group throughout their whole career. So of course his brothers were in the band as well and are surviving him after this passing. Of course, he's also survived by his wife, Barbara Tanner. His brothers, of course, are Derek Shulman and Phil Shulman. So it's just an unfortunate thing to hear about. This tends to happen, unfortunately, lately. There's a lot of passings of a lot of notable musicians, and it's tough. I always struggle with if I should include this in these shows, but it is news. It is important. But I just, the somber tone isn't really what my show is usually about, but I thought it was worthy of sharing so that those of you can hear about the news. I'm sure most of you have probably heard about it, so that's really my purpose here in bringing it up. So really, really want to honor his memory and put on some Gentle Giant and be able to honor his contributions to the music scene at large. So just an incredible musician, incredible person, and he will be missed, sadly. Also passing away was Ryuichi Sakamoto, who passed away at age 71. A musician I'm not as familiar with, but this made some waves also in the Prog and adjacent community. A composer, was part of the Yellow Magic Orchestra, an electronic group, highly influential. So he really contributed to that style of music, that electronic style. So a really big composer of a lot of different soundtracks as well. Scored a lot of different things like The Last Emperor, The Sheltering Sky, Little Buddha, The Revenant, and more. So very, very notable in his film score world. So also another notable passing that I thought was worth mentioning today. So on from that, some news from some other groups here. Item number 2, I Am the Manic Whale announced their new album Bumper Book of Mystery Stories in a short 2023 tour. So the new album is coming out on July 4th. An independent release from the band. This is their 4th album. If you're not familiar with I Am the Manic Whale, they're just a really great neo-prog band that really takes a lot of cues from bands like Big Big Train, from even Spock's Beard and Neil Morse related things. I just think they're a really talented group. They have a quirky, eclectic style, but really stick in that classic symphonic prog vein that I just really love. The bassist and vocalist Michael Whiteman has recently collaborated quite extensively with Ryo Okamoto on Ryo's latest solo album, Myth of the Mostrophist. So if you like the contributions that he put on that record, he was a large part of the writing of that record. This is probably something really to put your attention towards. So the 8-track release, there's 8 tracks on the album. It'll be available in an unusual cross-shaped digipack containing new artwork by longtime collaborator Sarah Joy. Joining the band on the recording, Ryo Okamoto is a special guest on the album. I guess a little bit of, Michael Whiteman played on his album, so now he's playing on the I Am the Manic Whale album, a little bit of playing on each other's albums, which is really fun. And Sally Minier also is going to be on as a special guest, so really, really fun. It seems like the inspiration for this album is basically about Michael Whiteman explains it well. The idea for this album came from a dusty old book I discovered in a creepy secondhand bookshop many years ago. We've drawn inspiration for each piece of music from various mysterious stories and circumstances, some from real life, some pure invention, some based on folklore, some based on other works of fiction. So each of the tracks seems to be based on one of these stories and should be a lot of fun. It seems like it's also being released as with a companion book coming out with it, but with short stories written by the band members, so that's fun. The pre-orders are available all on their Bandcamp page, so please go check that out, especially with it being a Bandcamp Friday. You can pre-order the album and the proceeds go to the band in total, so that's a really cool thing for them. So hopefully that will be taken advantage of and just something to check out. I'm hoping they'll release some music soon to kind of tease the album perhaps, but right now all we have is the announcement of the record coming out July 7th, which I'll definitely be covering on this channel. Another announcement for a new solo album. This is from Ray Alder, who of course is the singer from Fate's Warning, a very notable musician and someone celebrated in the prog and metal community. This is his second solo album with Inside Out Music. This is coming out on June 9th. So this is the first track that's out, called This Hollow Shell, a really cool opening track from the album that I think really showcases what you could expect on display, some of that Fate's Warning vibe, but done in his own solo style. Really cool stuff. Seems like there's a lot of people and guests on the album also, so that should be cool. A lot of notable names. Just like for his debut, the new album was written with guitarist Mike Abdow, who's one of the Fate's Warning touring members, and Tony Hernando from Lords of Black, who also perform bass guitar on their own songs. Features drummer Craig Anderson, mixed by Simone Mulroney. So it's going to be just entitled 2 is the name of the album. And it should be pretty cool. A cool release to look forward to. If you're a fan of Fate's Warning and Ray Alder's solo work, this should be a cool one to look at. So it's available for pre-order now in all the different varieties that you might be expecting. A first pressing Digipack CD edition with a bonus track, digital album, and as an LP as well on 180 gram vinyl. So that should be really cool to check out. Item number 4, Geddy Lee, of course from Rush fame. His autobiography is now slated for a November release. It seems like this autobiography has been a little bit delayed for some time, but it looks like it's now going to be coming out November 14th, called My Effin' Life, apparently. So this should be a cool book to talk about Geddy Lee and, of course, some cool stories, I'm sure, and different things that should be really interesting. Geddy Lee announced the book in an Instagram post by saying, "My friend and collaborator on the Big Beautiful Book of Bass, Daniel Rickler, saw how I was struggling in the aftermath of Neil's passing and tried coaxing me out of my blues with some funny tales from his youth, daring me to share my own in return, so I did, reluctantly at first, but then remembering, oh yeah, I like wrestling with words, and soon my baby step stories were becoming grown-up chapters." So he wrote out these stories and they took shape and now will be released in an autobiography. So that should be really interesting to check out. Pre-order should be happening soon. It seems like there's a pre-order page on Amazon in the US, but we'll see when the UK gets a pre-order page for them to grab that book. So that should be a really cool thing to look into, the memories and stories from Geddy Lee. A really great musician and writer, and just should be really cool to check out. Item number 5, I wanted to mention Pallas. They launched a digital album today on Bandcamp to raise funds for their former keyboard player Mike Stobbie. Apparently Mike Stobbie recently lost part of his arm due to a serious attack of flesh-eating bug necrotizing fasciitis. And so he's in the hospital getting some treatment, which he's trying to generate money to be able to undergo groundbreaking surgery to provide a bionic hand to help him reach his goal of returning to composing and performing. So this is a big deal that Pallas is really pushing towards and really trying to get donations and trying to get people to be able to support this. So they have the album available on Bandcamp. It's an album of like demos and older material and special things, all put together in a big collaborative effort, called Compendium. So that should be really something to check out if you're a Pallas fan, or if you just want to support this cause for their former, for their one of their founding members, Mike Stobbie. This is really an important cause to help him get back to his being able to play and all that kind of stuff. So this is just something, a cause I wanted to put out there and tell you about. There's also a video, I believe, detailing some of the music from this release. So they're also working on a new album, which should be coming out later this year, I believe. So that there's some exciting news in the Pallas camp that I thought was worth sharing. So this should be really interesting. And if you want to support the cause and of course, grab this album from Pallas, this kind of bonus compendium album, then I would encourage you to do so. Alright, so we have our Prog singles list. This is quite an exciting list of songs. I even added some bonus stuff on here because there's just a lot of new tracks that I was enjoying. The first one on my list is Jethro Tull's new track, Hammer on Hammer, from their upcoming 23rd studio album, Rock Flute, which comes out April 21st, so only a couple weeks away on Inside Out Records. I thought this was a really cool track that showcased some really interesting sides of the band, really their characteristic sound, and really upbeat and interesting. The track takes inspiration from the god Thor, a loyal and honorable warrior who wears a powerful symbolic belt and wields a hammer. That is interesting, so interested to look forward to the Jethro Tull album. We'll see how it goes. The Zealot Gene, I felt a little mixed about, and I've heard this one's probably along similar lines, but, you know, I'm always willing to give a new Jethro Tull album a chance here. So, number 2 on my list is Kairos and their track, The End in Mind. This is a UK synth prog quartet, one of my favorite groups that is a little bit under the radar and doesn't get talked about as much as I think they should. Just a really talented group that really leans into this almost 80s synth inspiration, but does it in a really cool, chaotic prog style way. And this track is just really, really cool and really technically proficient, just some really cool playing, and I think the band is firing on all cylinders here, so hopefully it's portending a cool new project for them in the works. And they also have some live dates that they're announcing throughout the year. Looks like they're mostly in Europe, in the UK mostly, so that is definitely a band to watch, and I will look out for their future release with bated breath. I'm really excited for that one. Peter Gabriel has another single. Of course, he's coming out with basically monthly singles on the new full moons. This one is the title track for I.O., and I thought it was really, really great song. You know, all the songs he's released so far have been really strong quality and show that he probably has a good album that will be released once all these singles are rolled out. So I'm really excited for the album in full and to just continue to hear what Peter Gabriel has to say. Number 4 is Godstick's new track, Mayhem. Looks like they have an upcoming album coming out. There's 6 called This Is What a Winner Looks Like, being released through K-Scope Records on May 26th. This one's a bit darker and heavier with dissonance, but it's a really cool track and really interesting. Looks like it's one of the heavier tracks from their upcoming album, so that should be a cool one to check out. A band that maybe gets some controversy, but I really love, is Greta Van Fleet. They have a new track out called Meeting the Master from their upcoming 3rd album, Starcatcher, coming out July 21st via Lava Republic Records. This is their follow-up to 2021's The Battle at Garden's Gate, which I quite liked. I feel like they're developing more in their own style. I know a lot of people consider them a bit of a clone band to Led Zeppelin, and they definitely lean into that sound. I'm going to be talking about another band this week that leans into their influences also in a similar manner. But I really like the energy and enthusiasm they bring, and I feel like as time goes on, they add more and more of their own character to the music, and I just appreciate celebrating classic rock and classic music in this way that a lot of other younger, more popular musicians just aren't doing. So to me, it's all good. It's all fun, and if it's just not for you, it's not your style, then you don't have to listen. But for me, it is my style. It's something I'm really enjoying, and I think this single is just really, really great and showcases them at their best and is just a really great classic anthem type song that they do so well. Also, I have that Ray Alder single that I was talking about in the earlier news headline, This Hollow Shell. Winger has a really cool track called It All Comes Back Around. More of like a 80s rock, maybe heavy rock kind of style, but it's just really well done and really good sound. So I thought I'd push that out. I see a lot of people recommending that track. And Kite Parade, which I talked a bit about this week, has their single Wonderful out on YouTube that I'm going to put a link to point you guys towards. Their new album, Retro, is available on Bandcamp today as well. Definitely one worth checking out, one of my favorite albums so far of the year. So that leads really well into my recap of what happened this week on the channel. I did an album review of Kite Parade's Retro. Once again, please check out the review, but even more so, check out the album. It's now out on Bandcamp. I know there was a few comments about, well, I really am interested, but I don't quite know how to check out or listen to this album. But now that it's out on Bandcamp, I think that's a really solid way to go listen and check it out. And so I really want to point your attention towards that. Also, I did a review of Jason Bieler's new album, Postcards from the Asylum. Really cool record, more heavy rock style, but with Zappa-esque sense of humor and some proggy flourishes. I thought it was a really cool record. I think it officially comes out next Friday, so you can wait for that. But I believe a lot of the tracks are available already on Spotify, so you can get a pretty good sampling of what to expect. And probably a bunch are also on YouTube. So that's definitely something you can seek out and get a taste for before the full-length album officially releases. I thought it was really cool. So definitely one to check out. I did a Prog Song Sunday with Jana, a Moon Safari song, Dance Across the Ocean, which I think would be appealing to all lovers of classic symphonic prog. It's really a brilliant, uplifting, beautiful song that we had a lot of fun listening to. As for this upcoming week, there's going to be the next Classic Albums 101 episode coming out this Sunday for Supertramp's Crime of the Century. We do a reaction to the song Rudy and then jump into a discussion of the album in full. Not listening to the full album on the channel, but just talking about all the different tracks and the impressions Jana had while listening privately to the full album on her own. So a really cool show. That should be fun. And then another pair of reviews that I wanted to get to. I've been debating. I know a lot of people love the top 5 series, and I feel like that's hasn't been as consistent lately, but I'm really excited to talk about these new albums and what I've been loving and recommending them to you guys. So I'm going to have a pair of really cool album reviews this week. One from Crown Lands, the album's called Fearless. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it, and some of you are probably not a big fan of it because it leans so hard into its Rush influences, but I really love it and find it to be a really fun, exciting album. So I wanted to talk about it in full on this week. And I'm also going to be talking about Nickel Creek's album Celebrants, which isn't really prog. It's really in its own lane. It's more that bluegrass style, but it's just so great, and it's one of my favorite records of the year so far, and I just can't help myself. And I think there's some progressive elements that might interest people who don't really care for the full-on bluegrass country style, but are willing to branch out to a bit of a folkier, progressive style that's really, really pleasant to listen to and really inventive and exciting. So I'm going to talk about it, and I'm excited, hoping people will watch that and be interested in my thoughts about it. So that's really the week, what you can expect. Should be a fun time, and I'm excited for what's coming up on the channel. Really excited about new music. I did want to also mention that I did a collaborative video with notes, reviews, with Similitude of Prog, with rhyme signatures, with Matt O'Leary, with all those guys. Had a lot of fun. Travis Lausch as well on that video, and we talked about the best in prog and the worst in prog for the first quarter of the year. A lot of great recommendations. If you want a place to find a bunch of new albums to listen to, that's really a treasure trove of that kind of thing. And we had just a ton of fun discussing all of it. So really love doing those videos each quarter. It's just one of my favorite things that I get to do each quarter of the year, so really want to point everyone's attention that way as well. So, and with that, I basically am done with the show today. That's what I have for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed what I talked about here. Please let me know any other news items. I know I didn't really talk about any new releases for today like I usually do, because there weren't really any on my radar, but please let me know of any that I may have missed in the comment section of what you're excited about. Always love seeing that, and just any kind of like or comment is always much appreciated. So thank you guys so much for your support and for joining me today, and hopefully I'll catch you in a future video. Alright everybody, bye!